Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Movie Chatter. Tonight we are going to be discussing a classic movie that everybody in the world has seen by now. Except Robin, up until just recently. So
why you gotta out me like that?
I do. Like right at the beginning of the show too.
Really?
Wasn't even subtle.
This is gonna be a good show.
It
people.
really is. Lou, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
I'm looking forward to talking about this. It was a fun movie to rewatch because I hadn't seen it in years.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it too.
Wow. Way to make me feel irrelevant.
Now I feel like I should have tried harder because I wasn't even trying. I feel like I missed out some enjoyment that I could have reveled in had that been intentional, and it wasn't intentional, and now I feel gypped.
Yeah, that was my plan all along.
All right. Well, Robin, how are you doing tonight?
Fantastic.
Good. Good. For those who don't know, I'm Eric, and I am also doing, as fantastic as I probably get, I think.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. Since we recorded last, I've started a new job. I'm trying to get some computer things set up here, and Skype does not want to cooperate the way. Oh, no, it's not Skype. It's Windows in general. Way to go, Microsoft. Oh, well. So I've started a new job.
I don't think you're going to be their spokesman.
Since, no.
They're surely never going to sponsor us now.
No. And we were so close. We were so close.
I know.
No, I'm doing great. I started a new job, and I have a normal sleep schedule, Monday through Friday,
Nice.
8 to 4:30.
No.
Yeah.
No.
That's a huge plus.
Problem?
Wow. That's why he's so chipper.
My body hasn't gotten the message. So, like last weekend, it's like, day off. Got to flip the opposite schedule. I'm like, no, wait. I'm fine. We're going to leave things right where they are. Nope. Sleep till 3 p.m. Stay up until 5 a.m. Nope. Wait.
Well, now you actually live longer because people that work in that weird schedule where you kind of shift every week or so actually live a shorter life.
Yeah.
Your life expectancy is definitely shorter.
That's actual science. Yeah. Is that something people want?
Really?
Yeah. No, it's been
live longer.
It's a study, 2015, 2016 that
Really?
actually there have been a lot of studies over the last few years that talk about it increases your chance of Alzheimer's by some crazy amount. You're 11 times more likely to have seizures.
Wow.
It affects dementia. It affects, I think it even affects diabetes.
I think, yeah. And then one of the things because I know like from dealing with guys that working on swing shift in your own industry, they, once a week they'd have to get back on schedule, but they'd try to spend a weekend with their family. So they would lose a night of sleep. And, doing that week in, week out, about 10 years shorter life expectancy.
Wow.
Yeah. They say if you adjust your sleep schedule by 90 minutes over the course of, I think it's a month, that it has measurable physiological side effects. And I was doing mine by 12 hours every 3 days.
Oof.
Now, so where I work, we're actually changing that. They brought in a company that specializes in manufacturing, scheduling issues and stuff like that. And so it's getting resolved, and that's good. But in the meantime, I am working a normal job on a computer
Chipper.
in a cubicle.
You're like chipper. You're smiling. Lou, who is this man?
I know. It's strange.
Yeah.
He was like, come on, people, let's go. Get the go.
Right now, I'm just smiling because this is funny. I do have happy moments. I do. I had one in 2015. Oh, no, wait.
No, that wasn't.
It was mostly happy.
And
it was within the last decade. So come on.
I'll give it to you.
All right. Well, what you've got to give to me is your opinion of Se7en. This is a movie that, as we said, it's been out for a long time, but Robin had never seen it before. I saw it, I think, in the theaters when it came out. I'm looking on IMDb to see when that was because I don't have it up in front of me here. Nope. I think I might have just scrolled past it. Lou, did you see this? 95. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Because we were talking about the fact that it's 25 years old.
That movie is almost as old as my son.
Wow. How's your son feel about that? Did he see it in the theaters?
No.
Okay.
He would have been 4. No.
Good. You're a good parent then.
Yeah, I am a good parent. Yes.
Yeah. So
just don't ask him.
We should get him on the podcast. So, Lou, tell me a little bit about your history with this movie. How many times you've seen it? What your initial thoughts were? whether you feel like it holds up now. Again, spoiler. Well, you know what? Screw spoilers. We're gonna talk spoilers.
It's been out for so long, right?
Right. I mean, if you haven't seen it by now, you're probably Robin. So yeah.
So I don't think I ever saw this in the theater, to tell you the truth. I don't believe I did. Yeah, I don't think I did. But I've seen it probably maybe half a dozen times overall. I think it's how it holds up. It's got some, it shows its age. I mean, in especially in like the vehicles the cops are driving and so forth, it feels older than 95. You know what I mean? From looking at the vehicles they shot it in and so forth, it just feels older than that. But I thought the acting was good. I thought there was some issues with the very ending sequences as far as the acting from Brad Pitt, personally. But we can talk about that when we get to the end. And I think it's one of these clever movies that brings you along with the main characters, and you learn as they're learning. And I think I like movies that do that, where you don't have knowledge that they don't have. You're just going along with them,
right?
And trying to figure out what's happening, what's going on. Especially with something like this, where it's 7 is the 7 deadly sins, and you go along with what the sins are, and you're trying to, in your mind, what haven't we done yet? What's next? And, oh my God, that's So it's just a fun exploration of that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, right down to everything you said up to the ending and Brad Pitt and all that. I agree with. I don't really have anything to add to that. I will say I saw it in the theaters when it came out. I've seen it many times since then, and I'm now at the point where watching it again, I kind of felt like I don't need to see it anymore. Like I didn't have as much affinity for it this time as I have in the past. And I think it's just that I've seen it so many times at this point. So I have to think that it's just, there's nothing more for me to get out of the film. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll find out tonight there's something I missed, that is some sort of an aspect of it or a perspective on it that I never considered. But I think like I'm just finished with the movie. The movie's run its course for me, and then that's fine. But I'm ready to move on past it. But Robin, you saw this for the first time. Did you watch it once or did you watch it again?
No, I watched it once.
Okay.
Only, and what it did for me was it made me hate the movie from last week even more, because this was 3.5 million times better, smarter, more intelligent, better directed, better acted. And I'm going to make a little argument with Lou later on about the Brad Pitt's acting at the end.
With Lou and Eric.
Lou and Eric. I'm going to insert some controversy way at the end.
That's okay. So we like controversy.
But I just...
And Robert, just remember, it's okay to be wrong.
But I never am, so... It's okay, Lou. Example
in point. Yeah.
Yeah, Lou, it's okay to be wrong.
No, that's not what I meant, but go on.
Wrong. So that, I mean, and I don't think I took a breath during the entire movie.
Okay, so we liked it.
I would interpret that as a resounding absolutely.
All right. Okay, well, let's talk.
I liked it very much.
Good. I am glad to hear that. Let's talk a little bit about the movie. We mentioned it came out in 1995. It stars, of course, everybody knows who it stars. It stars R. Lee Ermey from Full Metal Jacket. Gunnery Sergeant Hartman. Stars John Cassini from various different movies, and it's got other people in the cast too. It was directed by David Fincher. Now, Robin, for those who don't know, is not only a film studies instructor, but has a particular focus on directing. And I would like to hear your take on David Fincher's directing of this film. I have to say that of all of the parts of our discussion here, this is the one thing I've been most interested in hearing from you. And while you kind of formulate your opinion on that and prepare whatever you're going to say. I'm going to run down for the audience a quick list of things that he's directed. And I'm going to cheat. I've got IMDb up, and I'm just going to start from most recent going backwards. He directed 7 episodes of the TV series Mindhunter. He directed Gone Girl. A little bit of House of Cards, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, The Social Network, which I think is underrated, actually. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Zodiac, a 9 Inch Nails video, Panic Room, Fight Club. A lot of Brad Pitt stuff in here. I love Fight Club, by the way. We have to discuss Fight Club.
You can't. You can't talk about it.
No, screw the rules. We're going to talk about Fight Club. Yeah, they can just come hunt us down. We are going to talk about Fight Club. We're going to break rules number 1 and 2 right out of the gate.
Gosh.
I didn't realize how much video stuff he did. For music videos.
Yeah, he's got quite a resume here. In fact, he did. I think he got started primarily with music videos. Yeah, the further I scroll back through here, and some of them like really notable videos too. Freedom by George Michael, Janie's Got a Gun by Aerosmith,
let me tell you
Straight Up by
something.
Paula Abdul.
Most recently he just did Mank too, which didn't it win some awards recently?
I was just gonna say that you gotta halt here. This guy is like freaking amazing. He did direct Mank. Mank is probably the
I
best.
thought you said Meg, and I was going to say, isn't that the one with the like dinosaur shark thing?
No, not
the
Meg.
Megalodon or something.
Mank.
Okay, Mank. Right. I haven't seen that.
Mankowitz. Yes.
I haven't seen either.
Right.
Oh, see it.
Yeah, Tim was telling us about it.
Amazing.
Yeah. But do go on.
You know what? I think at this point in my life and in film, if he's creeping up there, he's not quite at, the KB yet. And anybody who, knows us knows
Kenneth
what I'm talking
Branagh,
about.
Yeah. I can't believe it took me more than half a second to. Kenny.
And here I thought you were on it tonight.
Yeah,
Kenny B.
Just not as obsessed.
He's getting there. His eye is spectacular. His acumen for telling stories through the lens is amazing, and it kind of doesn't matter if it's a film like Social Network, of a film like Mank, or a film like Se7en. Completely different genres here, and he's got a way of telling stories, and I like that it's not a very Hitchcock way. Like, it's like everybody knows a Hitchcock film when you see it. You kind of have to know who's directing the film when you're watching it to see his brilliance, and that to me is almost perfection.
Okay.
And I'm looking back here. He hasn't done a ton of movies. And he hasn't done anything that's really been huge budget movies, but, very interesting movies that are thought provoking. I mean, Se7en, of course. He did The Game, which was the Michael Douglas movie where you kind of were figuring that out as it went along, which again, very similar to this one. I thought it was great.
And
Panic Room.
Some of these movies, these got a lot of critical. Panic Room, for example, it didn't do great at the box office. Do you know though that they built that house for the movie, and they engineered floorboards to creak in a certain way at certain points, like the craftsmanship that went into that movie. And I don't love the movie, but I love the story behind the movie. And it's brilliant. The Social Network, I think, is very underrated, though. A lot of that is because of the dialogue by who's the guy that did West Wing?
Alan Sorkin.
Yeah.
I mean, Sorkin's dialogue is almost like Tim Burton. Like when you walk into a room and you see a Tim Burton movie, you know it's Tim Burton. Well, it's kind of the same thing with Aaron Sorkin. You hear dialogue and it's like, oh, yeah, that's Aaron Sorkin. So that was part of it. But Fight Club.
Fight Club.
I mean,
Gone Girl. Gone Girl was fantastic.
Gone Girl was good.
Have you seen it? I mean, this guy is like got this solid craft here. And I think people will study him just like people study Hitchcock, just like people study Kira Kurosawa, it's just he will become studied.
Two directors of whom I haven't seen one of their movies all the way through yet.
You just failed my class.
I know I did. Even Psycho, like I've never seen it all the way through. I've seen bits and pieces in such a way that I've seen the whole movie. Just not. Yeah, I know. I'm a horrible human being. I know.
So he had worked at ILM. I don't know what he did there.
Did
but
he?
He worked at ILM.
I did not know that.
From 81 to 83.
I'm a little jealous. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll come back to David Fincher throughout the episode, but let's talk about the actors. So Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
I mean,
brilliant.
Yep. Amazing actor.
There's nothing he does that sucks. Like even him doing a Doritos commercial where he's rapping over Missy Elliott. Like he's yet to do anything that's not been good.
True.
So, I mean, the guy's just an incredible actor. Brad Pitt, this is back during the time period where I had a hard time really getting into Brad Pitt very much. And I think that I'm scrolling back through his list too, because I want to get the timing right. And I think that, I keep forgetting he was in 21 Jump Street.
Mm-hmm.
Just briefly. I think, okay, so Se7en came out the same year 12 Monkeys did. 12 Monkeys.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. 25, 26 years ago. I have to say 12 Monkeys convinced me that Brad Pitt is a phenomenal actor. And then 4 years later with Fight Club, absolutely convinced. Like for me, that was when he went from this, kind of almost like a model teen heartthrob. Everybody's, oh my gosh, it's Brad Pitt, like all the time. And it's like, yeah, but I mean, the guy can't act. And then it turns out, oh no, he really can. And he's really good. But Se7en didn't quite convince me of that. Like he did okay with it. I mean, okay might be understating. He did really well, but the ending, I want to talk to you about this, Lou.
90% of the movie, he was fantastic. I mean, I thought he played the role of the brash young detective who's trying to make a name for himself, trying to prove he can do it. Played that really, really well. I bought into that whole thing, except for that last little whiny. Oh yeah. I mean, shades of Mark Hamill in he's American Burgers.
So, you know what, Lou? Well said. I was trying to figure out how to say what I wanted to say, and you didn't even take the words out of my mouth because those weren't the words I had, and I'm jealous.
Okay.
Tosche Station, power converters, all in that one moment right there. And frankly, for me though, Lou, I'm a little less forgiving with his performance throughout the movie. I thought it really felt like this was him trying to prove to Hollywood that he could act, because I felt like there were moments where he was trying a little bit too hard with some of the delivery of the dialogue. But at the end, the whole what's in the box thing felt... Yeah.
Oh, what's in the box?
He didn't hit it. Like I didn't feel like he actually felt what he was trying to convey that he was feeling. And then later on, 12 Monkeys, he was completely psycho. In Fight Club, completely psycho. Yep. Not that he needed to be psycho here, but I wasn't feeling it at all. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've seen high school actors that could have pulled that scene off better.
It's funny because I'll let Robin talk in a second, but I just want to say one thing because I know she's
okay,
showing us
Kanye.
right now. I can see her. But
okay, I'm gonna let you talk. I'm gonna let you talk. But
come on, his mannerisms at the end I thought were fantastic. The whole he kept pointing the gun at the guy and shaking his head and kind of
that last moment.
Acting was fantastic.
That was good.
The voice, the voice he used in that just didn't work for me.
Yep, the dialogue delivery.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm sorry, Robbie. Go ahead and.
Don't be sorry.
So
let me tell you this.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, for me, it was superb. I loved the tone of his voice. I loved I almost felt like the director pulled that out of him with almost a trick kind of, I'm showing you this in order to elicit this from you, because it felt like, it felt like those movies that you watch where the actors, these big soldiers, and then they die on the battlefield, and in the end they're crying for their mommies. That's what it felt like to me. Like his world was completely shaken and it was raw, and it fit for him to do anything. Stop.
I don't think these are working. Wow.
It fit for me because here was a man who actually didn't think that humanity could get that dark. And before his eyes, humanity got that dark and worse for him. I thought it was brilliant.
How? You have to explain how. Like, we explained why we thought it was the opposite of brilliant. You have to explain why you thought it was brilliant.
Why wouldn't your voice get high-pitched and nervous and creepy? Because it's almost like instinctually, intuitively, he knew what was going to be in that box and he didn't want to know. He was fighting the knowing because he was trying to stave it off.
The high-pitched squeakiness of it didn't bother me. I could see that being realistic. It was the... If it weren't for his body language, like Lou had pointed out, being so good, I would have wondered whether he was reading off a teleprompter. Like, it was just the verbal delivery of the lines was so scripted. I guess is the best way to put it. You could tell it was a script instead of people in a moment in life.
Right.
And even throughout the movie, there were other points where, like when they were in the library and, or before they went to the library, where they were in the police station, he was talking about, great, so he's got a library card or something. Like, it felt like that's not how a normal person would have presented that sentence. Like, it just felt like mechanical.
It felt fake.
It felt fake. The body language throughout the movie, spot on. And Brad Pitt can act, period. Like, I'm not dissing him.
Although,
and I'm not dissing David Fincher either, but there was something about the performance, the delivery of specifically of the dialogue. It was almost like he needed to be able to kind of wing it a little bit more and just be natural with what he was saying. And instead, it felt like he was reading.
The funny thing is, because I didn't realize it was the same year that 12 Monkeys came out. And you're right. I think he had a much better job acting in that movie than this movie.
So much better. Yeah.
And now that I know they're in the same year, I'm like, oh, so what was it, just an off week that he had when he was doing this movie? Or it's like, wow. Cause that, I would have thought it was later and he had progression from here to there.
Right. And I don't think that it was necessarily bad. I think it's just that we've seen him in so many good things now. Yeah. He does feel natural. That then in this, it just didn't. But to be fair, some of the dialogue in the movie was rough too. And I wonder if it's not that, because there are moments where, I mean, Morgan Freeman, it's a lot like when we look at, we've talked before across our various Star Wars podcasts about the prequel trilogy and the fact that there were some people like Liam Neeson, Ewan McGregor, Ian McDiarmid, no matter how bad the dialogue was, they're so good at what they do that they could just deliver. I mean, they could read the phone book and make it feel dramatic or sad or exciting, whatever emotion they want you to feel. They can read the phone. Kids, ask your parents what a phone book is. Okay. But they could do that and it would work. But then you had Natalie Portman, who Academy Award winning, I don't know, nominee at least several times. She's a really good actress too, but she felt cardboard in these movies. And I think it was the dialogue. We talked about the directing. The dialogue wasn't great. And I think in this movie, the directing was great. The actors were great. Some of the dialogue just didn't feel very natural to me too. And I wonder if it's that Morgan Freeman delivered it okay and Brad Pitt just couldn't manage to make those specific words feel natural for what he was doing otherwise with that character. but something just didn't fit. There was a synergy there between the word and body that was absent. In my opinion, that's, and yet I love the movie, and I love Brad Pitt. I didn't used to, and that was right at the time when like I said, I started to gain an appreciation for him. But I don't know.
See, and I think I give him more of a pass on that because I thought that his delivery of the lines and you know, you point out that it may not have been as good as I kind of think it was, but I'm also thinking that some of that was just the character he was playing, that kind of, like I said, that brash rookie cop who's trying to prove himself. He's trying to be something he's not. So his words don't feel authentic for him. You know what I mean? Because he's trying to be something he's not. So to me, I kind of took some of those deliveries like that. But I can see your point, Eric.
I can see yours. I mean,
I can see why you would say what you're saying.
If he wasn't being authentic to himself and what I was seeing was intentional. Okay.
I'm hoping what you were seeing was intentional, because I do agree with Lou. He was playing someone that wasn't firmly grounded in his own body. The character wasn't fully convinced of the life that they had entered. There was a conflict between he and his wife about that. So, it was like, I have to do this in order to make the big time. And then, we can go back and be who we were. Right.
Okay.
But, and so maybe that's some of the, maybe his backstory was bleeding into, that disconnect that you guys are seeing, because what you're saying is ostensibly his body was, doing what he thought he wanted to do. And yet there was this other piece of him that was, trying to undo it. But there's the complexity and from my perspective, an actor who can pull that off in order for us to have this discussion. We can forgive a little bit of dialogue issues.
I will concede that this time around, you probably made a better argument than I did. Okay. It is entirely possible.
Is this what happens when he gets sleep?
I guess,
Oh, we're going to go there. I see.
So can we talk about the villain?
I will concede that Brad Pitt may have been trying to convey that he didn't even believe his own bravado, and so it was fake, and that's fine. Yeah, Kevin Spacey. So let's talk a little bit about him. So as far as kind of a murder mystery sort of detective movie goes, this one was a little bit rough because this is another one of those where there was no way for the audience to solve the crime. There weren't these little hints planted along the way of, it was the butler who did it the whole time or something, or something like Knives Out, where there's no detective work for the audience to do. The villain doesn't get introduced until the very end. So it's really more about
2/3.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So it's really more about the two cops.
The only thing for us to figure out was the last sin.
Right.
It wasn't really like a hard thing to figure out, but it was telecast to you.
And even then it was much more, it was a presentation. It wasn't can you figure it out before we show you? It was much more here's a clever way to present this. You thought it was going to be, he goes and kills someone, but instead he turns the tables. That was the twist. It wasn't about someone's identity or who did something when you were expecting someone else. It was about the methodology changing at the very end.
Right.
Which was brilliant, but and Kevin Spacey did a great job in this movie, but I don't know. I like movies where you kind of get a chance to figure out what is going on as you go along, and this movie didn't have that. But,
well, I mean, the only thing there was to that was, the whole leading up to that last part, you weren't figuring out, but you knew something was going to happen. You were trying to figure out how he was getting the upper hand, how he was pulling off his masterpiece, what he was going to do to make happen what he wanted to happen.
Yeah.
And, we had seen how controlling he was throughout the whole movie. We didn't see him, how methodical he was, how he set things up that were, years in the making, that kind of stuff. And it was just,
at least.
Yeah. It was just dramatic in terms of that respect. So for me, watching that last, 20 minutes of the movie, was fantastic to almost get inside the bad guy's head to see what he was planning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it definitely
and how
was.
calm he was, and how relaxed he was in the car, and he knew he was going to get what he wanted,
right.
All that stuff.
But also, Lou, how brilliant, because as we know, he started this spree a year out. Well, Brad Pitt's character, I lost his name. Brad Pitt's character entered right at the very end. So again, testimony to, a psychopath who can pull these pieces together rather quickly when it serves him, because he wouldn't have known, Brad Pitt's character from Sam, right? And that clearly became the focus of his wrath, mostly because I think what he realized as he explored the depths of the policemen who were pursuing him, he had nothing to hold on to with Brad Pitt's partner. Sorry, his name's gone.
Yeah, I don't remember any of the character names, honestly. But Morgan Freeman's character.
Morgan Freeman, it was Somerset, and Mills was Brad Pitt.
Okay.
So he had nothing to hold on to with Somerset. Somerset had no family, right? Mm-hmm. Somerset was completely slippery to him. And so the focus then on Mills, who actually gave him the wow factor that he needed in order to end his spree.
Yeah.
It's pretty brilliant.
I will say this, that the writing of the end scene, it was clever. As you said, it was brilliant. And it's iconic now. Like everybody, it's permeated pop culture. What's in the box? Everybody now knows what that line is and where it's from and what it means. Now Robin does too. And it's a really clever ending. And the catch now is, we've seen other similar types of things mimicking it a little bit.
You mean like the movie we watched last week?
Not necessarily the box
not the
thing,
box,
but everything around it. Yeah. Going out in the middle of nowhere and the confrontation and the villain outsmarting the good guy and the killing of the villain accidentally by the good guy and how that's going to affect the good guy's life now. And yeah, I mean, that was, you see now why people were comparing it to Seven.
I do and I don't. And that's another point I wanted to bring up. This movie was, yes, about the relationship between the old cop and the young cop. And it was a way more healthy relationship. It was, I believe, a way more realistic relationship. Mm-hmm. And there was there were no secrets here. And to me, it was this pure mentor-mentee relationship. I mean, Somerset was going to now hang out to make sure that Mills made it through this tragedy. I mean, that's what you saw at the end, right? It's, his need to make sure this person comes out of this hole, and no avoidance of responsibility at all. There wasn't even a scent of a possible cover-up on Somerset's part. Not only because there was a helicopter overhead and everybody was watching what was unfolding.
Right.
But
Somerset wasn't broken like Denzel Washington's character was in The Little Things.
Right.
Yeah, very different.
He was broken, but he wasn't irreparably gone.
Yeah.
I think, or maybe just tired. Maybe he was tired.
You know, I also kind of feel like 25 years ago, having a police drama like this, or a police suspense thriller, whatever you want to label this as, the perspective of police in movies like the perspective on police in general was different. It was easier to relate to a police character back then. And now we've had both so many movies that have featured corrupt policemen and things going on in the headlines that it seems like it's harder to relate to police officers anymore in a film or in fiction unless they are somehow broken and we can see a little bit of ourselves in the policeman and seeing how the system kind of failed the policeman who's trying to do the right thing, but the system is designed against them. And Se7en didn't really feel like that. And it kind of seems like there's a little bit of a trend, and I totally understand why, but it seems like there's a little bit of a paradigm shift in how law enforcement is portrayed in fiction over the last several years, and especially the last couple of years. I wonder how much that affects the story. Like, I liked Somerset. I didn't really like Mills that much, Brad Pitt's character, but Mills wasn't really supposed to be likable. What's that?
Right. He wasn't supposed to be likable.
Right.
That's
you were supposed to be following Somerset. Somerset was supposed to be the guy you wanted to be in this movie. Whereas in The Little Things, you didn't really want to be Denzel Washington's character.
I don't think you want to be either one of them.
You didn't want to be Rami Malek's character. Yeah. And you're a little bit messed up if you wanted to be Jared Leto's character. So, I mean, who do you root for in that movie?
Wow. I guess now's not the time to say I wanted to be Jared Leto's.
No, that's really not a good thing to say, Robin.
I know.
I'll get you some phone numbers of some people you can talk to. But yeah, I mean, I think that we're getting into, I mean, we've been in it for a while now where we're getting more fiction where it's harder to relate to any of the characters. And you know, Lou, you were talking about when we were doing Random Chatter and you were covering some of your reviews, you were watching Schitt's Creek for a while, and you said, but none of the characters are likable. They're all a bunch of jerks and idiots and whatever. Shameless is another one that people have said that about. And yet they're both critically acclaimed series. They're award winning, etc. We seem to be getting into fiction, though, where it's acceptable to not really have anybody worth emulating. You know, it used to be you wanted to see yourself on the screen, and now it's become a more civilized Jerry Springer show where you're really just watching a bunch of other people be horrible people, or at least idiots, to kind of make yourself feel above them.
Feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah. The idea is you're not them, and,
right.
And yay. And it's not even a there but for the grace of whomever go I. It's like, I could never be that.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just my 2 cents on it. But I think comparing these two movies, Little Things could have been a good movie. But
it could have been a much better movie.
Walk away just not caring that much. Oh, what was the one we watched with the jeweler played by Adam?
Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems.
Sandler.
Another one. Like, you couldn't root for Sandler's character, and everybody else in the movie was horrible. So you're watching a train wreck, and you can't root for anybody. And I like the fact that in Se7en you've got a good, strong,
you've got a good guy.
Compass, moral compass in the movie. Not that you always have to have that, but like, you've got someone you can root for and not feel bad about it. I don't know. To me, that was a good aspect, a good element of this film that is becoming more and more uncommon. And one of the reasons why I think this movie holds up so well is because Morgan Freeman's character, both with his performance of it and the way it was written and the way it was directed, I think he carries the film. He's what gets us through this movie, which is a pretty dark movie. And there were some scenes in there. One of the times, so I saw the movie and then years passed, and I was dating someone. So this is back in, again, the mid-90s. I don't even think years went by. I think a couple of years went by, and it came out on VHS, or maybe I had an early DVD copy or something. And I was, we were engaged, and we went over to her house, and we were going to watch a movie with her in-laws. Decided to watch Se7en. Sitting there, like, with her dad in the chair a few feet away from me, as the the scene with the guy in the quote sex scene came up.
Ooh.
That was one of the single most awkward movie watching experiences of my entire life. It was.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, this was kind of a dark movie.
It was, but it wasn't nightmarish.
Well, it wasn't scary.
I mean, I went into it.
You kept asking us, "Am I going to have nightmares? Is it going to keep me up all night?"
Yeah, I did. Yeah. And because I'm a very visual person, and things like that affect me, right? Mm-hmm. So I would be, a very bad person who runs into buildings to rescue people, because that would affect me, and I would only do it once, and then I would be broken for the rest of my life. But this movie wasn't like that. It really spared a lot of that awful, intense gore that sometimes movies and directors use as fillers. I shouldn't say movies and directors. That sometimes directors use as fillers or as shock, for shock value.
Right.
I don't think this had as much shock value because it was trying to be intelligent. And I appreciate that a director will allow us to be intelligent rather than just stupid.
Yeah, and I would say that there were shocking moments, but as you said, they were intelligent, shocking moments, because it was still very much about the crimes that were being committed and, what was going on in this guy's head, the psychology of the crime scene. And you didn't see the crimes happen. It was always the crime scene afterwards. So there was no gratuitous violence, even when there was some gore or, gross moments. So, yeah. That's another thing I think that they were very clever about how they presented that. We never got to see any of the murder scenes up until the very end of the film.
Right. And I love that we did, we haven't talked about Gwyneth Paltrow because, well, what's to talk about? But I like that you didn't have to see that. You didn't have to see any of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still
typically,
effective.
the less you see of Gwyneth Paltrow in a film, the better. Really.
I am in agreement. There will be no controversy here about that.
Yeah, sorry, not a fan.
Moo?
Yeah, no, I mean, she was there, but that's about it.
Yeah, she was there. They didn't need a name like hers in order to carry that at all.
Back then, was she really?
Yeah, she wasn't that much of a name.
Yeah,
like you could kind of recognize her, but she wasn't. She didn't stand out. People walked out of the movie, and if you would have said, "Hey, who played the wife?" I don't know. I think I saw her somewhere before, though.
Yeah, some chick with strawberry blonde hair that will probably never remember that she was in this film.
She hadn't done many movies before that. She was in... nothing really.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, it's some movie uncredited stuff. Nothing really jumps out. Got her foot in the door, though. That's where she...
Yeah, I mean...
went from there.
If you're trying to get your career off the ground, being in a movie with Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
Not a bad way to go. Thing. Yeah. I don't really have a whole lot else to say about this film unless there's anything else you guys want to say about it. I mean, it was really good. Even the critiques I had. I mean, listen, this is a classic film for a reason. It's really, really good. And I would definitely recommend it to anybody who hasn't seen it. And that's one of the reasons why, Lou, you and I, when we found out that Robin hadn't seen it yet, we're like, well, we have to cover it now. And Robin, was this a good choice? Are you
excellent choice, co-host?
See, yeah, we pick good ones sometimes.
We are doing a little better by one or two of us seeing something and then sort of bringing it into the fold. I mean, even if I force you to see The Greatest Showman again,
no, there's no reason to see that again.
Fool us once, shame on you. Fool us twice, not going to happen. I think that's how the phrase goes. Yeah.
But yeah, and I don't have much more to say about this. I mean, although Eric, I want to circle back to what you originally said. I don't know that I would be compelled to watch this over and over again. Because to me, the brilliance was in that unfolding story. And I can see where over time this wouldn't hold.
Yeah, I mean, it's been years since I've seen it, so for me it was good to see it again. But it's something that you need time between viewings because it's part of the suspense is in the not knowing what's going to happen. Not you don't go into the movie knowing from the very first scene how it's going to end.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's movies like that just don't rewatch that well. Anything that has like a twist or a unique gimmick to it, I think are hard to rewatch. And this is one of those that doesn't lend itself to repeat viewing.
It depends. Very often. So if there's a movie like The Sixth Sense is a classic example of a movie where there's a big twist and then it changes the movie when you watch it again. And the reason it changes it is because there were hints all through the film. And to be fair, not hints that would have explained it. There were probably very few people who really figured it out before the end, especially since we weren't really used to M. Night Shyamalan style plot twists back then. Now it's a thing, like everybody wants to do them. But it was one of those things where because there were hints sprinkled throughout the film that supported that twist. Now, when you go back and watch it from the very beginning of the film, you're like, oh, I didn't even understand that. Seven didn't have that. Seven is the type of movie with the twist where the twist isn't predicated on foreshadowing by a bunch of earlier moments in the film. And that's what makes the difference, I think. And that's where Seven, really, you watch it the first time and you get the story. You watch it the second time and you get some of the nuances. The third time, maybe you pick up on some of the creative style of the director, some of the ways certain scenes were shot. And then that's it. And even that third time, like, you've really got to be into film to really care enough to get those things out of it. Beyond that, it's just, there's nothing there. Even a second time for a lot of people. I know a lot of people who watched it a second time so they could watch it with somebody who didn't see it yet so they could watch that person watch the movie.
Well, and I must say, I might be contradicting myself, so forgive me, but I think I might want to watch it again.
Okay.
Only because there's a disconnect for me between how smart Kevin Spacey's character was, and in terms of hiding the clues, right? Generally, I think most of these movies like to present these killers, this type of criminal, as wanting to be captured. And for me, this movie laid out a criminal that wanted to be captured, but wanted to be captured by the right person, by a person who was equal to him or herself in intellect and cunning and masterfulness, sort of like a Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty kind of, existence. Except he didn't know that those persons existed out there until they presented themselves, right? And then you saw the crime spree sort of pick up speed.
Right.
And so I would want to watch if I were so inclined, and maybe, in a few more years when, film schools start to really study Fincher and what he's done, to just sort of see where the director plays a part in that, where you can see the director's magnificent in laying out a story,
right?
And in laying out characters that played the long game. I mean, there is a masterfulness in a long game, and so there's something to be said. But then the audience has to be that patient with a director, and sometimes audiences are not that patient with a director.
Audiences be impatient?
No,
I don't know what you're talking about.
You guys don't have any experience with that ever. I know.
We should talk about what we're going to cover next. And I have a suggestion.
Okay.
Can I recommend a movie that I still have another 10 minutes left to finish?
Sure.
Oh boy.
I mean,
I've
seen most of the movie. Like I was watching it right up until the point where I had to pause it to come record. And then I watched an extra 5 minutes, and then I paused it and rushed over to start recording. I'm liking it so far, and I don't know how it ends because I haven't seen the last few minutes of it. So maybe I'm gonna completely.
The dog dies.
So there's a new movie.
Wow.
A new movie that just came out on Netflix called I Care a Lot. Have you seen it?
I have seen a picture of the trailer.
Uh-huh. A picture of the trailer, which also counts as a picture of the film for those out there who are curious, because the trailer is.
I'm just saying. I've seen the picture.
It's good so far.
Is it dark?
It's kind of dark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I was hoping. Okay.
And I mean, I love Peter Dinklage. So that helps. But
big fan.
Let me finish it first. It's dark. It's messed up. And I think
like
it's interesting.
messed up.
Yeah, we know.
What's it called again?
I care a lot. Like if you look at the picture and you look at like even the font of the title, it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like you're not even going to watch the trailer. I wouldn't have watched the trailer if it wasn't one of those autoplay things when you pull up Netflix's homepage. And so here's a premise. It's a woman who her business is as like a caretaker of estates. Like if someone gets, they're elderly, they can't take care of themselves anymore. So the court has to step in and appoint them a legal guardian and get them set up in a nursing home or an assisted care living sort of thing. And someone to go in and take care of their estate and auction off their stuff and, whatever. But the thing is, this woman is basically doing it as a racket. And like she has other people, doctors and stuff like in her pocket. And she kind of makes arrangements to push these people into nursing homes a little sooner than they're supposed to, because then she gets paid as part of this, plus gets a portion of the proceeds from the auctions. And so like she's making bank.
Okay.
And then Diane West, who if you don't recognize the name, you'll recognize the actress when you see her. She's the next victim, except it doesn't go very well. This is someone that this person probably should not have messed with. And it's one of those kind of cat and mouse games where it's almost like Ozark in the sense that they just keep upping the stakes and you don't really know who's going to get ahead until the end, which I'm not at yet. So maybe the end is horrible and I'll say, no, guys, we don't want to cover this. But so far, I'm liking it.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that looks pretty good.
I would at least watch the trailer. We can, then let's decide offline. We'll either watch that or we still keep putting off 6 Underground.
Well, but here's the thing. It's the actress that Rosamund Pike who intrigued me.
Okay.
And it's because of what she's been in, and she's known for Gone Girl.
Yeah.
And she was the creepiest, most reprehensible, she played the creepiest character ever known to man. And, guys, just stay away from her. I'm just saying, just stay away from her.
I mean, I wouldn't date her character in this movie either.
Yeah. She's got a knack for playing these characters, and it's a juxtaposition between her look and then the character that she's given. And she's an actress that
let's cover this movie then.
Coming to respect,
because even if I don't like the last few minutes of the film, and I think I'm really going to like it, there are enough things to talk about in this film. I mean, the content kind of says a lot about. There's sociological points to make, I think, here as well, and some thematic points, and then there's the kind of the whole butting heads against, it's not a good guy versus bad guy sort of thing. It's like a bad guy versus bad guy, and who comes out ahead. And
sure.
I think it's worth covering.
Yeah, no, it looks good to me. I'm up for this.
Okay. And it's a win-win for you guys, because if you guys end up hating it, then you get to tear into me for a while and make me watch The Greatest Showman again or something, or at least try to.
No, because it means I have to watch it again. No,
we won't do that, Lou.
I'm saying, hey, can I just say that she was also in an episode of Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends.
Oh, that's where Thomas died, right?
I'm just saying.
She slit his throat or something?
You got to respect a woman.
I tell you what, that is, as a single man who's looking, women out there, if you've ever been in Thomas the Tank Engine,
yeah, call Eric.
Come find me. We got to talk, because wow,
wow.
Love Thomas. Boy, we got to go.
Yeah. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Movie Chatter. Thank you for hanging out with us. We are going to be, we need to talk schedules too, because now that mine's solidifying, we can just say every Tuesday night and no more of this alternating stuff. We can use Thursdays as a backup if we have to, but
sure.
So every Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. That's GMT -5 for you international people out there. Come join us. We would love to have you here in the live show. And if not, that's fine. Go to randomchatter.com/YouTube and you can check out any of our podcasts anytime you like. From Movie Chatter, Random Chatter, Force Chatter. Once we bring back Trailer Breakdown, it'll be on YouTube as well. But we have a ton of audio podcasts. If you're not listening to those, you should go to randomchatter.com, check them out. You can join us in Discord. Let us know what you thought of Seven and what other movies you think we should cover. Go to randomchatter.com/Discord and join our community there. We would love to have you. That is going to do it for this episode. Until next time,